Welcome back. Master Miller here, Champions Way Martial Arts. We are going to be filming all of our 1 steps, 1 through 25 at least. That takes you through blue belt. But before we film that, I just kind of wanted to take a brief moment to explain to you guys on a separate video the importance of understanding our clock method. When we're doing 1 steps, we have 2 goals in mind. 1 is to learn proper foot position. 2 is to learn proper stance, chamber, and then the technique itself, okay? So those are your 2 main goals. Now, to understand the foot position, you have to understand the clock method. The clock method is simply just a system that General Che developed when he was teaching Taekwondo in Korea. It comes from more of a military system. It's 12, 6, 3, 9, and then in between numbers. So you have 2, 4 back here, so on and so forth, okay? So it's understanding there's technically 8 points on that clock that you step out to when you're doing self-defense. Now, the idea behind 1 steps isn't that these are the techniques that you would use in self-defense. The idea behind learning 1 steps is understanding the proper escape route or escape pattern to avoid getting hit, to avoid taking a knife to the stomach, to avoid getting hit with a stick, to avoid somebody reaching in and grabbing you. That's the whole idea of understanding the clock method, okay? So this is what we work on in our 1 step. So when you see your kids working on 1 step number 1 and they're stepping out, okay, they're stepping out to 2 o'clock. So when you hear us say 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, okay, these are important methods because this is what we're training the body to understand how to step and get away from a punch or get away from a grab. So when you're working out at home, what I really strongly advise is that when you're standing, wherever you're standing, when you're starting your 1 steps, and let me step back here, when you're standing your 1 steps, is that you imagine that you have a circle or a clock that goes around you. You're the center dial. You're right smack in the middle. So you got 12 o'clock, which is directly in front of me. You got 6 o'clock, which is directly behind me. You got 9 o'clock, which is directly to the left. You have 3 o'clock, which is directly to the right. Those are your 4 main points. And then in between those points, you have your angles. Okay, you hear me talk about find the angle, find the angle, find the angle. This is why we find the angle, okay? So when I step out at 2 o'clock or I step out at 10 o'clock over here, those are the angles, okay? When I step back at 4 o'clock or I step back at 7 o'clock, those are the angles, okay? So understand that that's what we're trying to achieve, okay? So when you see us do these punch counters or these 1 steps today on our video and you're trying to help out your kiddo at home, really enforce the clock method. Understand that, you know, your body has to step out to get away from a punch. I can't defend myself if I'm getting punched. I can't defend myself if I got somebody's hand on my throat. I can't defend myself if somebody's hitting me with a stick or a crowbar. So I need to understand that I have to get my body into a safe position so I can counter, okay? So that's the whole concept. That's the whole main purpose behind the clock method, is understanding where to step. Where do I step to? What angle do I try to find? Okay, then 1 step number 1, for example, is now taking that clock method. Now we're going to apply a stance to it as well as a proper chamber and technique. Okay, those are just simple counter drills. I'm not going to tell you if somebody throws a punch at you and you step out and do a knife hand block and then throw a punch to their face isn't going to be effective. Hey, that's probably the most effective technique that you can probably use, right? Whether it's a punch to the stomach or a punch to the face. But that's not really the purpose behind the 1 step. The 1 step is understanding, hey, I'm working to getting out of the way, I'm blocking, and then I'm counter striking. And that's the whole purpose behind doing 1 steps. Okay, so enjoy the videos. If you have any questions, parents or students, just see me at the dojo. I'd be more than happy to explain or show you the clock method a little differently, okay? But I just wanted to kind of set up the next video. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Tune in for our 1 steps. It's going to be big because this is going to help you guys out a lot, and you're going to have another tool to be practicing at home because that is the most important thing. All right, guys. See you at the dojo.